All right, now catching up with Chris Lang. Firstly, thanks for joining me, mate.
It's good to be here, Paulie.
Here to talk trotters and promote trotters, and as a lot of people know that I'm very big with Nutrien, and I want to make sure people are aware of their sales and both their sales dates. Obviously, we've got Sydney coming up first on the 20th of February at Warwick Farm. Warwick's I can't wait for that. It's just going to be a sensational complex and going to be great to go to. And Melbourne on the 3rd of April here at Oaklands Junction, and it's going to be a very, very exciting time. The reason I'm catching up with you is because of the trotters and the depth of trotters that are in the sales. There's another sale going to be on this weekend. It's just amazing how the trotters have progressed and how they're evolving over the period of time. And I think where you're an interesting one, Chris, you left the sport for a while, you've come back into it, and I'm sort of curious to know a little bit more about how you see the changes and how things have actually, I suppose, changed and evolved in the industry in the period that you were in it to now stepping away. Firstly, when you came back, what's the biggest thing that you've seen as a major change with the trotters from that little, I suppose, hiatus that you had away from the industry?
Yeah, Paul, it's I'd say the biggest change I've seen. You know, the quality was coming through, you know, long before I took my hiatus. But I've noticed since I've been back the last few years that it's the speed of the trotters, the young horses, you know, the maiden class trotters, they just run. The gap between the best and the worst, shall we say, has narrowed markedly, and they're just so well gated these days. You know, I don't think they're anymore. Most trotters these days, I don't think there's many tricks with them. Anyone can train them basically. So I suppose it's just the breeding is better.
Did you get sucked in? I'm actually going to go back in a sec, but it's just one of those questions you just left me with there. Did you get sucked in when you came back? You thought to yourself, hey, this thing's a superstar, and then all of a sudden you take it to the races and you think, what's going on here? I can't keep up.
Well, I'd sort of been watching, so I knew that evolution was taking place. I mean, you could see it years ago. So I came back and I suppose I did get sucked in. You can't help it. That's what us trainers do. We're eternal optimists. But Courage Stride was a very good example. You know, when he came here as an early, a late yearling, early 2-year-old, I said to many people and the guys around the stable here, I said, well, this is as good a 2-year-old trotter that I've ever trained here, you know. But I didn't want to get too carried away because you just knew that everything else was better. And I mean, he's a great horse, Courage Stride, but obviously he not like he's been as dominant as some of my other 2-year-olds in years gone by. So I think that's a good example of the evolution of the trotter.
It definitely is. For a lot of people who won't know, you know, Chris Lang, there'll be a lot of people watching this and trying to, you know, understand the trotters, I suppose, and get involved in it. How old are you? Am I allowed to ask that question? Like, how long have you been in the trotters? And you're actually a little bit funny because you weren't full time for a long time, but you've sort of been in and out a bit, but always thereabouts.
Yeah, I suppose early days, and we're going back a long time to the 90s when I was sort of in and out of it a bit. But we moved to Ngambie in, I think, 92 or 3, and from then we were virtually full on into it up until 2015 when I took 3 years off basically, and been back in it again here at Riddles Creek since 2018. So you know, I've been in, out and around, and I suppose my involvement with the trotter, it just sort of naturally occurred. I started to get, you know, a trotter going, and then someone else would give me another trotter, and then my first good horse was National Interest at that elite level. He won the Dullard Cup, you know, incidentally running Saturday night. He was my first real big win in about 1998, I think it was, and I suppose from that point on I got more and more trotters, got to know them better, got more and more success, so it just, you know, it snowballed from there, and I make no, you know, bones about the fact that I love the trotters.
The Lang name, I find it's one of those ones I find a little bit funny when people say about it. They say, oh, it's synonymous with trotters. My memories and what I remember and talking to people like a Duncan McPherson, there was a group of yous that I would imagine must have in one way had a bit of fun because you were all friends, but Barry Alford's, your dad and Barry were good mates. Duncan McPherson came along. You guys all struck up this relationship. You've got people like Graham Johansson that came in and out around that way. Then you've got other people like the Fords and that are up in central Victoria. But there was a band of people that were determined, I suppose, to make the trotter grow in Victoria and you know, effectively in Australia, but really keen on trying to grow the trotter. it must have been enjoyable times and must have been a bit of fun, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, it was. Like there were people way before I came along that were pushing the trotter, and I would say, they deserve a lot more credit than guys that have come along lately, in the last 10 or 15 years or so, like Dickie Lee and the Redwoods, etc. They were pushing the trotter when no one wanted it, and they were literally chaff bandeds, and, you had to strap an anvil basically to each front foot to get a lot of them to trot and things like this. So, I think we need to go back to those type of people that really kept the trotter going, and it has evolved a lot since then. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey to be part of it because, in the last sort of 20 years, it's just accelerated the evolution, and I don't think it'll be long before we're seeing 50% ratio trotters and paces, and I think that's what people want. There's a reason that's there, and I think it needs to be embraced, actually.
Lucky most people watch my stuff on a iPhone because they just threw their iPhone, but if it was their TV they might have thrown something at their TV. There'd be certain people, but it has grown. That was something, and it was only about 4 or 5 years ago that was mentioned and people pooh-poohed it, and now I think all of a sudden, because you look at this sale, there's 73 horses in the Melbourne sale alone, and it's not all trotting sale. No. There's 80 trotters available in this Nutrien catalogue.
That's true, Paul, and I mean, it's always wise to follow the money, and if you look at a lot of our bigger, industry participants, owners, etc., that are putting a lot of cash into the industry, they're putting a lot of cash into trotters, and that's not because they don't know what they're doing, it's because they're normally ahead of the curve. So I think it's worthwhile just keeping that in the front of your mind.
The travel and the likes, you said there before about national interest, and he was the start of it. It was a bit of a boom time for you then, wasn't it? Because you just sort of kept rolling along. Like it must, from a trainer's point of view, it must have been so much fun, and sort of getting these horses come through, and then all of a sudden international, come on the radar and the likes. It must have been a lot of fun for you.
Yeah, it was, Paul. I mean, a lot of these things you don't realise what a amazing ride you're on until you look back. But national interest and good old Lester Scott, they both competed in the 2000-2001 Inter-Dominion finals. We didn't win. I think old Lester ran 5th. National interest might have won the consolation in Auckland, but it was an amazing. It started it all, and then we go back to the sales here. Back in that period of time, I would be going to New Zealand to buy trotters because they had the best bred ones in this part of the world, and we had a lot of success there, like Kai Valley Road, and I can't remember who else we bought over there.
You're going better than me because I even forgot about him as well.
That's right. Well, that was a good to go over there and buy our trotters, So now we've evolved and we've got a lot of our own. So it was a great ride, and you thought you had these fantastic trotters. Can it get any better? And then, of course, a non-winning 4-year-old trotter from New Zealand came into my stable, in about 2005 or 6, called Sundon's Gift, and it just was quite amazing. And I'd never even dreamt about international. Really, I thought it was virtually beyond me. But then, of course, a couple of years later, we ended up over in good old Sweden. So it's been a great journey, and I'm sure there's plenty of miles left in me yet.
Oh, absolutely. Now, as I say, there'll be a few people who don't know Chris. If I can find it, I think it's still one of the more iconic photos. You got in a bit of trouble for it, but standing up on the crossbars of the cart coming back on Sundon's Gift. But he meant a lot to you. You are a showman, and I'm not going to hide. You're not going to hide from that either. You do. I think we need to be able to sell the industry. But I don't think you stood up there because you said, I think I can do this. So I think there was a little bit more making you actually do that.
Yeah, well, that's right. It was an impulsive act. It wasn't something I've planned, which I'm just glad I didn't fall over. But yeah, it was a great moment, winning the Inter-Dominion there at Moonee Valley. I think it was the last meeting, or was it there, mate? Yeah. So it was a big night.
Last Inter-Dominion there, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a big night. There was a lot going on. And you put so much time and effort into these horses over the years. So when it all comes together in what is essentially our biggest race that we could win, you got to let it all out. And it's a photo I'm very proud of, and I've got it hanging over there in the stable still.
I'll be able to get it then by the sounds. That is, other horses and it's a family journey, and I think that's the one great thing about trotters like Sky Valley. and Chris Lang Jr. Like him doing so much with him as well. Like you had some phenomenal horses that injected so much speed into racing and really showcased racing.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky. We were getting very well-bred stock. Up at Ngambie, I'd built tracks virtually to specialise in them, really, and I think that helped with our evolution as far as the training goes. In 1999, I think it was, I went to New Zealand, spent about 5 weeks with Barry Purdon for the Inter-Dominion there, and the who's who of trotting were there for those Inter-Dominions, and what I learned in those 5 weeks I thought was, career changing and changed my path forever, not just trotting per se, but horse training in general. And then in 2009, when we went to Sweden for the Elite Lot, hanging around with the best in the world also was just another thing that I suppose fine-tuned the training even more. So that was why I suppose horses like Sky Valley, Let Me Through, Kai Valley Blur, Maori Time, these horses would benefit from all that experience, I think.
See, you just started rattling off a heap of names, and I was like, yeah, you did too, and you did. Yeah. Well, on the Elite Lot, like people, it's like everything. You get told how big it is. How big, like.
Well, it's an amazing experience. I've said it for many years. I went 5 times, 5 odd years in a row after I went there the first time. And it's amazing because it's about the horses. It's not about a party, the after parties or whatever. It's all about the event. The crowd are so knowledgeable. The trotters are the best in the world. The year I was there were 11 different countries represented from, all around the world, obviously. And it was just... It is a party atmosphere, but it is all about the trotter, and it's just great showcasing. There's so much to see and do over there. The Swedish people are great people, very hospitable, and I can't wait to get back, which I'm hoping I'm going to be back again soon.
That's a good little starting point for me, or ending point for me, maybe going towards the end. I think the other part of that, the fact of yourselves starting to go across there, Peter Manning and Karen Manning, was a couple of years prior?
Yeah, I think it would have been about 5 or 6
years prior.
Yeah.
Was that the initial itch that sort of had to be scratched when you saw them, and you knew that it wasn't all smooth sailing for them to go over there with Night Pistol, but to still turn around and come home with a Group 1 win? Was that probably a little bit of the start of it?
Yeah, amazing achievement. The Mannings, of course, that we all know them very well. I don't think I ever dreamt big enough, Paul, to tell you the truth. And
Serious, you didn't?
I didn't, and I believe it was possibly, Adam Hamilton spoke to me after Sundine's Gift won his first Inter and sort of started talking about it, and I thought, well, I'll do whatever you reckon, if you reckon it's a good idea. And I had not really considered it a reality, prior to Petit had been over there many years earlier, whatever, but I don't know. I don't think I thought big enough, dreamt big enough, but once you got there, it's an amazing experience, and I still maintain it's probably one of my greatest achievements in the industry.
Just to be there?
Just to compete, that's right. Just to compete.
That's a big thing, because how many intermediates?
3 as a trainer, yep.
And 2 as a driver?
Yep.
Yeah, that is huge, and like you're a family that have been able to achieve a lot of things as a rider. I will say it might be a bit wet here in a minute, because I think the clouds are starting to roll in pretty heavy on us. The evolution of the trotters, and we started on that, and as I said, a little bit of this is mainly around the Nutrien sale. Pat Driscoll, Yabby Dam Farms, they've got 25 quality yearlings in it with blood that go back to France, go back to Sweden. We've got Duncan McPherson as well. I'm not sure exactly how many Duncan's got in there in the sale. Like I said, there's 73 trotting yearlings. When you pick up a sales catalogue now and you see some of these horses they're in it and their bloodlines, do you go, oh yeah, this is good?
Wow. I think I hope I've got deep pockets is what I think. No, I think it's quite incredible that we've all now got access, not only the elite level people in the industry, shall we say, but we can all go there and pick out, trotters that have great depth of breeding, trotters that wouldn't be out of place in some of the best sales, at Harrisburg or even in Stockholm. They could take their place there. So we're very lucky now, and we look at those. The quality of the Nutrien. We paid 90-odd thousand for Orlando Vici last year, and I'm hoping I go back there and can find one that's very very similar.
How's he
just a little bit cheaper.
How's he progressing?
He's going good so far, but they're all going good till we have to produce them.
That's okay. You got to do it. Like we'll say too with the bonuses, anyone that wants to go to this sale, don't forget the bonuses here, because in the 2023 season, so you buy a horse from this sale coming up on the 3rd of April. 62,500 for the 2-year-old trotting colts and geldings, and also then there's also another 62,500 for the fillies as well. And then the following year it's 125,000 split sex, basically colts and geldings and fillies. Yep. That makes it so much easier. We've got the quality, and you said there before about spending 90,000, and Alabar they spent 180,000.
Yeah,
I mean, Brett Coffey's still shaking. He can't stop shaking after it. But
fortune favours the bold.
But with the money being put on offer and the breeding, our sport is really starting to catch up to on a world stage, I believe.
I do too, Paul. Like I have no doubt that our trotters sooner or later will produce a freak, I think, and circumstances, whatever the planets will align, will go overseas, and it'll be as good as they have overseas. I'm sure of it. So no, can't wait.
It's one of those things. I speak to a few people, Anton and Pat. They definitely dream it. I know Duncan McPherson still dreams it. You're definitely still dreaming it, because you said it there before in the interview, of the overseas travel.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's a great thing. It's great for the people that you have around you. It's great for the connections. It's great for everyone back home. Like I know I keep harping back to good old Sundance gift journey there in 2009, but we did a sort of like a Facebook feed, shall we say, 2 or 3 times a week, and the amount of people that came up to me after I got back, and we were gone for 3 or 4 months, that said, oh, we just couldn't get enough of your updates, news, whatever, during the course of our stay. So, I mean, it's good for everyone. It's good for the industry, and it raises the awareness of our industry here, and it gives a lot of our younger people something to strive for as well.
But it also raises that bar. Like we go back to, as I said, back to Peter and Karen with Night Pistol. The next year, I think Pride of Petite went nearly the year after, I think, and got over there and competed as well. So then all of a sudden people say, hey, we want to have a real red hot crack. You guys, 4 or 5 years later, with the evolution like of Facebooks and those things, you involve. It makes the world a much smaller place and a lot more fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's sort of scary in a lot of ways, but it makes it a very a lot of smaller world. So, I mean, it's achievable. Like, I know that everyone that's been involved with any of our trips over there, they just all want to go back again, and I've got them knocking the door down saying, well, hurry up and get one going, because we want to be part of the entourage. So I think we'll maybe hire our own Boeing or something if we ever get back there.
This race series and a series like this makes it attractive not to travel. But with the younger horses, so it probably fits in well that you can get the balance and be able to travel with them as well.
Exactly. I think young horses would be difficult to travel. At the obviously the states they're super fast over there, but the older horses, I think, if they're still going strong after they've won all the money in the Nutrien sale, then that's the ones that you'd be looking to take down the track.
Do you enjoy the way that the trotters, we say, get back to your hiatus, and I won't keep you for much longer because we will get wet, but your hiatus out of the sport, are you enjoying? A lot gets said about the stake money and the lack of where it is and all the rest. Are you enjoying the way the industry is looking and the way they're heading with the trotters?
Yeah, I'm enjoying where I am at present, but I mean, to be quite honest, that we could, like I look at the prize money for things like the Redwood and the Derby that haven't changed for 10 years plus. The Dullard Cup, I think it's still 50. I don't think that's good enough, and I think that we should be doing more, at an administrative level to increase that. We've heard about how our rating system's supposed to add more money to the bottom line, which I'm still waiting to see. So, I mean, I think the industry could be in a better place, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a great industry. It's not all about the money. It's not all about just punting. Competing and being a part of it is, I think, what makes my world go round anyway. And
makes trips like to Europe's and those things on the radar.
Exactly.
Mate, thank you very much for giving me a little bit of your time. As I said, the Nutrien Standardbred sales, February 20 in Sydney. There's 7 trotters on offer there, so good luck to everyone there. But on the 3rd of April, there is 73, as I said, I think Yabbydam Farms and Harasta Trotters who are actually supporting the trotting series with those great sponsorships for the prize money. They've got 25 lots on, but there are plenty of other vendors there as well. We want people to be able to get there and then buy.
Yep.
If you're watching this and you want to catch up with a trainer, I'm sure he's more than happy to take on more clients.
Well, I am actually, and I've been setting up a syndicate the last week or two, and I intend to buy probably 2 or 3, and there's likely to be a few slots available. So know where to find me.
Chris Lang, mate, thank you very much just for having a little bit of a chat with the trotters. Courage Stride, very quickly, just come back into work. Main aims for him?
Well, the New South Wales Derby's in May, so that's probably his first aim, and then it's whatever we can. Any other Group 1 3-year-old trotting event for boys after that, basically.
Yeah, he's an excitement machine, and
Yep.
with the unfortunate demise of Plymouth Chubb just at the minute, it probably a little bit more attractive for you.
Well, I would think it makes all 3-year-old trotters' jobs a lot easier.
How, very quickly, on a horse like Plymouth Chubb, like he, as a purist and a trotting purist, when you come up against this, everyone says he's a 4-year-old, he's this big rangy 4-year-old. Like, what do you feel as a pure trotting lover and seeing horses come in all shapes and sizes? What do you think when you look at him?
Well,
apart from the fact that you wish you could beat him.
Well, that's true. It's very unfortunate what has happened, and we don't wish it on anyone. But, I mean, I remember him sitting up outside me at the Redwood and thinking about halfway around the last bend, I think I've got him struggling here, and they ran under 2 minutes their last mile from a standing start in the Redwood. It's just a phenomenal time. And in the straight, he just pulled straight up beside me and went past me. So I would actually like to check his birth certificate too, Paul, because he didn't look like a 2-year-old, didn't go like a 2-year-old. He was just too good, basically. So, no, I mean, like I say, you get these freaky animals from time to time, and, he was just one of those freaky animals, sort of ahead of his time almost.
Do you enjoy the challenge when you're lining up against him in some of these big races to try and work out how you can beat him? Like you said, you had him outside of you trotted 2 minutes and you couldn't beat him. Do you sort of go back to the drawing board, so now what do I do next?
I tried a lot of ways to beat him and almost got there at the end, but never could quite make it. But, it's fun trying to think of different ways to do it. And, of course, it raises the bar, as we spoke about earlier, because if you want to beat those guys, you've got to go better.
No, definitely. Chris Lang, thank you very much. Thanks for joining me, mate. And I love promoting the trotters. I'm going to do more of these, but thank you very much for giving me a bit of time, mate.
Good on you, Paul.